13 states around the country have trigger bans when it comes to abortion rights, which means that as soon as the Supreme Court overturns Roe v. Wade, those trigger laws and trigger bans immediately go into effect, effectively banning, if not all, but most abortion in those states. Louisiana and Utah are two of those states. However, judges in both of those states have temporarily blocked the abortion bans. So a state judge in Louisiana issued a temporary restraining order Monday, barring the state from enforcing its ban, leading to the immediate resumption of the procedure. Hours later, Utah 3rd District Judge Andrew Stone halted the state's trigger law effective immediately under a 14-day temporary restraining order requested by Planned Parenthood Association of Utah. So you've got 14 days in Utah. Let it be known, shout it from the rooftops. If you know, maybe just see, I don't know, maybe you are pregnant, even if you're probably not. Obviously, this is a last-ditch measure and effort, and it's very good that Planned Parenthood and others are, again, this is the importance of utilizing the courts, the importance of actually clogging this stuff up in legal proceedings, but 14 days is nothing. And this will only protect people who were immediately seeking abortions and were denied. So Judge Andrew Stone, this is again the Utah 3rd District Judge, said there is irreparable harm that's been shown while issuing the temporary restraining order that will be in effect for 2 weeks. Lawyers for a clinic, he said that, lawyers for a clinic that sought the order said they had 28 women awaiting an abortion appointment on Monday. Abortion rights advocates are coalescing around this strategy of asking courts for temporary injunctions that at the very least can allow abortions to proceed in the short term. One of Louisiana's 3 clinics already said on Monday that it would reopen. So this is very important. I mean, I think some of us think, why wouldn't you just stay open? What's there to lose? There's a lot. There could be a lot, and these are clinics that perform abortions on the daily. They're very comfortable with it. They know how critical this kind of care is, and yet they're not financially equipped to deal with massive amounts of lawsuits that could be coming their way. Thoughts on this minor reprieve, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, we'll take anything we can get here with allowing people who would be most immediately affected by this to have at least some reprieve from it, because the stories that I don't know if you heard of, like when the Supreme Court case ruling came down, people were just so immediately distraught and upset, and like appointments had to be canceled that day, that moment. And I feel for people like in states with all these trigger laws where it's going to be like harming surprise to happen in Louisiana and Utah in the court level, because usually it's kind of said that the courts have this sort of like conservative bent to them. But I think about states like Arkansas, for example, or Tennessee, where you're essentially locked around all the states surrounding Arkansas, especially all the states geographically surrounding you are also states with trigger laws. And the states that aren't that have politicians who would like to further restrict abortion access from what is already there. So it's increasingly hard for women, but also people who are poor, working class, who need to travel to these places to get services that are rights in most other developed countries, in many states in this country. Like thankfully there are states that have anti-trigger laws, so to speak, that basically once these kinds of striking down of Roe v. Wade take effect, they only further strengthen their protections for the rights for an abortion. A lot of the states have this in their constitutions, but we can't have this patchwork where half of the country is in civilization and half the country isn't.
Right, I mean, that's why like it's a long shot, it will be a long haul, but including abortion rights in the Constitution, hey, that could be a thing. I mean, and this is, if it's not explicit enough, if like the right to privacy, the right to choose when you become or if you become a parent, if that's not explicit enough in the Constitution, let's make it explicit. I mean, this is the rollback that is happening on some like the Constitution must be interpreted when the white slaveholders, males, property owners, which were people, decided on these random set of laws. I mean, it just like at this point, it's like the 10 Commandments in my book. Like that's how abstract like that kind of originalism. But hey, funnily enough, these right-wing Christian nationalists also believe in the 10 Commandments and every word in the Bible. Anyway,
their interpretation of it as well, because of course there are Christians out there who have more realistic, rational interpretations of the Bible who are being crowded out and shouted out by these evangelical maniacs, essentially.
I mean, to be honest with you, like I think that Trump was a moment for a lot of Christians who saw that he was lying through his teeth, saw that he was definitely a quote unquote sinner according to interpretations of their book, and yet I wonder where they're at right now in terms of the people who are like against Trump, but also might be Christian. I know. Obviously, there are grassroots movements. Obviously, I'm thinking of Reverend William Barber. There are many like left progressive religious folks, but you want to hear from them now because evangelicals are taking this as a win, not just for their own extremist movement, but supposedly on behalf of their God. And so I'm like, where y'all at? I'd like to hear from you. I did want to just mention that there's a rush on contraceptives. So CVS and Rite Aid are now rationing emergency contraceptives after demands in spikes. CVS said it will temporarily limit the purchase of Plan B and Aftera to 3 packs per customer. A spokesperson said Monday, while the drugstore chain has, quote, ample supply of the products both online and in store, the cap is meant to ensure equitable access and consistent supply on store shelves. Rite Aid is also limiting purchases, to 3 per customer, a spokesperson said Monday, also citing rising demand. Walgreens' website showed Tuesday 2 emergency contraceptives, Plan B and Take Action, were out of stock for shipping, but available for pickup and same day in certain stores. A spokeswoman said Monday that purchases were not limited at this time, as company could still meet the demand in store. Quote, we're working to restock online inventory from ship to home. The grocery store Kroger notes on its website Plan B is not available and that in-store stocks are low. Meanwhile, the price of tampons through the roof. Also, scarcity there, scarcity in baby formula, scarcity in Plan B. How funny, all the things that women need generally for their reproductive health. But this limiting of 3 per person, I don't know. I look at that and I actually think that might be a good idea. Dan, am I wrong? Should you just be able to like, just grab it? I mean, people are just giving it out to their friends anyway, so.
Yeah, I'm a little bit mixed on here because I'm pretty sure like all of these pills will be used for people's reproductive health, which people should have the freedom to do. But I mean, in situations like when COVID started, when we had limits on how much toilet paper you could buy at one time, it was for a reason. It was to make sure that more people could have access to it. It's to make it because this could very quickly be a scarce thing. We had these demand side runs on supplies overall, and we know we're in an economy that is in an inflationary period caused largely by a supply shock. There's a lot of demand now for different things, including gasoline, for example, and the supply is not fully recovered from COVID. And so we are now in the situation where prices are skyrocketing and we're currently trying to deal with that. So now is the right time to where we are dealing with the fact that people are doing runs on this. Cause yeah, we do want this to be something that people have access to.
Yeah, and it's also one of the things that I'm like, look, if there are runs on it, just like the executive branch did when it came to baby formula, although I know that's been a slow rollout. But you also saw the way that COVID tests were distributed, and you can easily put in your address and information. Not initially. Initially, it was difficult. It got a little easier, and then in a couple weeks, I personally got 4 COVID tests sent to my house. Amazing. What about some Plan B? What about some Plan C? What about I could just do that, and the federal government can overstep Congress and make sure that people have their healthcare needs met. But then I realize, oh yeah, we live in the United States, healthcare is privatized. We never get our healthcare needs met.
And Kamala Harris just mentioned earlier today that the Democrats are not going to do anything to help with that. So, I mean, we're kind of on our own.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.